Welcome to another edition of Northern Heat. My name is Bob Lennon, President of ThermalWood Canada and host for the show. And our special guest today, Trevor Woodland from Vigilant Guitars. How are you doing today?
Good, doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's where you're coming all the way from the other end of the country. So you're living in Victoria. So this is a coast to coast show today.
Yeah, we're crossing all the time zones now. So it's morning for me, afternoon for you, and yeah, it's cool. It's amazing that we can do that, but share kind of the same values across all that dirt and sky.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and Vigilant Guitars and what you're all about.
Yeah, so my name is Trevor Woodland. I'm the owner, operator, and head luthier here at Vigilant Guitars in Victoria, BC. Started the company in 2015 and with a focus on solid body electric guitars and basses. Since 2015, we've started focusing on exotic hardware like Evertunes, Floyd Roses, extended range instruments, 7 strings, 8 strings, 9 strings, and then also multi-scaling, true temperament, and a wide array of other aspects that can go into the solid body market. Predominantly work for the kind of the metalheads, the punks, hard rockers, but we've got a couple of models now that are reaching into blues and rock and more traditional forms of music. And yeah, we've always had a philosophy of blending between different camps and philosophies, and yeah, and it's just been a great ride ever since.
Well, when you go on your website and look at what you're all about sustainability and you're all about looking at using species and using products that come out of our country and come out of Canada and things you can use and reuse and those kind of things. So tell us a little bit about because that's one of your core values, right? So tell us a little bit more about that. Let's dig into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. So since I started Vigilant, I started looking at things what'll set my brand apart from others. Where we're really blessed on the West Coast of having a wide array of amazing woods, ash, alder, figured maples. And having grown up in that environment, I really felt it necessary to bring that domestic wood quality to the market, um where brands will use exotics from Africa or the Amazon, rosewoods, ebonies, babinga, all these different tone woods that were traditionally used in our exotic. I felt it really unnecessary to have to import these exotic woods, cut down the forest and God knows where, ship it across the ocean, ship it to a wood dealer, ship it to me when I have a perfectly good, beautiful figured maple tree literally in my backyard that I can use. So since day one, I've wanted to make that supply chain as sustainable as possible, and in that light, um, keep kind of the economic commerce within Canada. I want to know who the person is chopping down the tree. I want to know the person at the sawmill. I want to know the reseller. I want to know who makes my hardware, my pickups, my everything. I want to keep those supply chains in Canada. So when you buy a Vigilant guitar, it's made in Canada.
Well, it becomes part of the story, right? And so knowing where the tree came from, who cut it down, all the whole process then becomes part of the story. And the fact that you can boast about everything that's made in Canada is also sets you apart from others.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of imposing those little limitations on myself too. I find I have to become more creative. I have to reach out to folks that aren't typically in the instrument construction trade. We're talking to arborists around the island. We're talking to gardeners, maybe taking a tree down that has some kind of burl. We're opening that up. We've got beautiful burl tops that you're just not going to find anywhere else in the world, and this has kind of led to me searching out different companies from like Bow River Wood to Works has been great to work with. They've always got a big wide array of domestic woods that I love purchasing and working with and providing that to our customers. And then with yourself at Thermal Canada, like I'm constantly searching out ways to make my product more Canadian, more domestic, and keep that commerce within the country that we love to live and work in.
So I'm going to put a little bit of plug in for ThermalWood Canada right now, and ask you to comment on the fact of, we met back in September when I was out in Vancouver for the International Guitar Show, and everybody was out there, and seeing all these guitars, like you're stepping away from tradition in color and shapes and what you're doing, and also in the products that you're using to build these things. But you've started using thermally modified wood, and you've started using some of our Obsidian product for fingerboards. So what can you tell me a little bit about that? Because it'd be great to get some feedback on an end user.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So since I've really noticed that the roasted maple and roasted necks have kind of been on the market, with Fender and Music Man for a number of years, but it's become more accessible, and especially from my customer standpoint, becoming more desirable. It's just it's a lighter product, beautiful figuring. It's great to work with, so it's checking a lot of boxes on my front there, and yeah, it's just such a great product to work with. So when we met in in Vancouver and talking to Caleb, he knows that I really like to reach out to I like experimenting with new technologies all the time, hardware, electronics, but also on the wood front. When he said that there's a new product, a roasted maple product, but it looks like ebony, my ears were perked up. And he showed me a couple of samples of the board, was kind of talking about it. I went to your seminar, and it was, again, checking off a lot of boxes. So got a couple of samples, played around with it, and I've been really happy with how it looks, feels, works. And again, it's hitting those metrics of sustainability and domestic commerce. So it's really just a product that I'm going to be moving forward with. Yeah. And now, like, we kind of mentioned, like, a little bit of the traditional stuff. I've never been one to downplay tradition. I think it has a place, like heritage, tradition, and using those old techniques that have made instrument manufacturing the beautiful trade that it is. But I don't think tradition should step on how the future should pan out. And so it's a really tight relationship between the two. In that, what I found with my market, especially, I've done this a couple of times now with a lot of local musicians who play at local bars and even main stages at huge venues. They come to me asking for an ebony fingerboard, and I say, okay, you want an ebony fingerboard? Do you actually want a piece of ebony, Indian ebony or pitch black ebony exotic wood fingerboard, or do you just want a black fingerboard? And they say, oh, well, isn't ebony the only black option? And you say, no, there's lots of options. And that conversation just opens up. And what I'm finding is that customers are really just they're just comfortable citing ebony as a color, not an actual species. So the Obsidian stuff, which, again, I've been playing around with, I've got kind of a base neck here that showcases it. And I mean, even through the camera and even up close, I've been exhibiting this neck with the Obsidian wood on it to several musicians around town, and they're saying, like, oh, this isn't ebony? No, this is Obsidian. This is great stuff. It's maple, it's modified, it's pitch black, it's great to work with. It's a Canadian product. And they're just not aware of its existence. So they just say, oh, let's use that. So I don't want ebony. I just want a black fingerboard, which historically was called ebony. So now we're going to be moving. I'm going to be moving forward with the Obsidian product, and basically excluding ebony from my roster of tone woods.
Well, the other thing too is that what some people don't know is the fact that, it's not just the fact of you importing products from other countries, but ebony is on the extinct species list. And so pretty soon it's not going to exist anymore.
Yeah, it's also this the kind of the externalized costs of the wood too, that we don't see. A guitar player just sees me, they get a quote, oh, it says ebony fingerboard, it's 40, 50, 60 bucks, whatever it may be. But that price isn't fully considering, again, in what forest did it come down in? Was that environment just butchered for that one ebony tree? How is it yarded out? Who's working at the sawmill? Is that a union sawmill? Probably not. gets shipped onto a boat, what's the gas and the diesel shipping across from, say, Africa to North America? You know, are we paying for that gas and diesel? And how about the pollution that comes with that? Probably not. Then it goes to from a truck gets, you know, sent out to the reseller, and you know, where those externalized costs aren't being passed on to the customer. So, you know, if we can minimize those, that's a success story for me.
And the list goes longer and longer and longer and longer when you think about it and try to check everything off. So, no, it's great that you're doing that. The other thing too is that we've talked a little bit about it too, is that you're using all kinds of different products. You talked about a product of wood that has been eaten up by the worms, and it's got an interesting story too. So, you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, it's an exciting project that, like I said, I'm always reaching out for new domestic stuff, and if we can find wood that tells the story of the West Coast, it's even better. This wood's been part of what we're calling a Torito project. It's been initiated by Dean Wyatt out of North Island Tonewoods sawmill up in Black Creek, where I grew up, and he's been pulling out these spruce logs that are old log booms that were submerged in under salty water for several decades, and he's cutting it up and resawing it into acoustic flat tops, arch tops. But in some of the inventory, the Torito, it's a worm, it's an ocean-going worm or clam animal, but it basically makes these giant wormholes through the spruce. And Dean has said to me one time, he's like, "Hey, do you think you could use this stuff for electric guitars?" And I say, "Yeah, let's do it. You know, it'd be a real shame to throw this wood that it's just had such a storied past. It was originally slated to be World War II fighter bombers, Mosquito fighter bombers sent over to Europe, but then the war ends. It's turned into a logging boom, and then a fishing lodge, and the lodge burns down, and now we're recovering this timber for use in musical instruments, and it's just a wood that's got such a cool West Coast story. It'd be a shame to throw it away. So it's just another opportunity where we're working with sawmills, historians, First Nations communities, luthiers, and yeah, ThermalWood Canada, to say, hey, maybe we can roast this stuff to extract some of the moisture, bring out the grain, stabilize it, and then give musicians an even better product that just, you know, it's all kept above the 49th parallel, and you know, it's just got so much love and energy invested in it. I think it just makes a better product overall.
Well, it's great to hear, and again, it all comes back to story. It all comes back to what you can everything that's in behind it, and whenever somebody's playing the guitar, that all comes around it. So, I really appreciate the fact that you found some time today to do this interview with us, and I wish you the best of luck for your company and for Vigilance to be able to keep on growing, and the more feedback that I can get as we go through, the more things we can do better for you, and we can keep a story from coast to coast keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, and thank you for making just great products. We're ramping up production more and more, and I mean, we're moving full steam ahead with roasted maples, burls, and obsidian, and I'm really excited for the future.
Well, Trevor, again, thank you very much, and appreciate that you came on board today. So there we are. Another edition of Northern Heat for this week, the place you come to listen to the stories that haven't been discovered yet.